Hello,
Hello
welcome to
everyone.
today's webinar, Oracle Web Center Portal Product Roadmap Review with Vihang Pathak of Oracle Corporation. My name is Melanie Brady, and on behalf of IOUG headquarters, I would like to thank you for joining us today. This webinar is brought to you thanks to our Web Center SIG. I encourage you to join the Web Center SIG online today. This is the opportune way to connect with others in the field over this shared interest. In this community, we post relevant blog articles. You may email us to be added to the distribution list or join the community and benefit from our archive section at www.ioug.org/sigs. Again, our speaker today is Vihang Pathak. Vihang is Product Manager for Oracle Web Center Portal and responsible for key cloud service strategies, including hybrid integrations. Vihang also has a strong background in payment systems, content delivery, mobility, and security. Before we begin, I would like to remind the audience to please feel free to submit questions throughout the event via the question chat box on your webinar toolbar. Our speaker will leave some time at the very end of the presentation to address these. I would like to now turn the call over to today's presenter. Please go ahead, Vihang.
Thank you. So, hello everyone. My name is Vihang, and I would like to brief you around WebCenter portal. We will do a small recap of 11G releases and then go ahead and talk about 12C and give you a brief insight into what's next. Without wasting further time, the standard safe harbor statement, which is around our general product direction, and our strategy has been on focusing around enabling digital transformation. So we are kind of heavily investing in building a unified experience management platform that is available on-prem or in the cloud. Our customers can deploy our digital experience platform in the cloud or on-prem. Our strategy is focused on providing best-in-class content management capabilities for rich media, web content, social, and business content. So having said that, these are the kind of three areas where we are trying to enhance the ability to deliver a digital experience. Having said that, there are multiple gamuts of the digital platform. On one side you need the LOB agility, on the other side one needs the enterprise reliability. Enterprise reliability use cases are centering around large corporate sites, self-service portals, or enterprise content management, or even for that matter transactional systems. While on the other side, the LOB agility would mean that you want to get some sites up and running quickly, or you want some targeted self-service apps, or have innovative process integrations. So so the idea of the digital experience platform is to bridge the gap between the two and get the two together so that we can get the best of both worlds. And as you can see, these products are trying to come together to be able to deliver such an experience, and that's part of the digital experience hybrid cloud strategy. Without going deeper into that, let me highlight or quickly recap the way portal has matured over a period of time. So in sometime in Q3 of calendar year 2013, we released the 11.118 release. Post that, we released a 11.118 BP3, a bundle patch 3. The reason I put the bundle patch 3 there is because we offered framework folder support for WebCenter portal in the bundle patch 3. Then we came up with the 11.119 release in sometime in second half of calendar year 2015, and then in the last quarter of the calendar year 2015 we released one of our major releases, 12.210, and recently we released another release, 12.211, and we are in the process of releasing another PS release, which is the 12.212. So having said that, let's look into what all went into each of these releases and what is going to come next. So first we will take a brief overview of WebCenter portal 11.118. The primary themes around which 11.118 was driven was around the improving the knowledge worker tooling and introducing a deep mobile experience into the WebCenter portal. So what was so striking about 11.118? So it actually tried to improve the knowledge worker tooling. It introduced the ease of use and the information discovery. So what we actually did was we revamped the entire user experience and introduced simplified asset management in there. In terms of ease of use, we not only focused on the user experience, but we also made significant performance improvements and defined the first ever performance benchmarks and white paper for WebCenter Portal 11.118. Having said that, multi-channel was the need of the hour then as it is now, and we tried to introduce the support for mobility in that as well. We tried to enhance the search discovery mechanism so that information can be discovered in a much better way, leveraging SES 11222, and with that we introduced faceted search and so on. So that was in a nutshell what 11.118 was about. Let's quickly look into each one of them, slightly at a deeper level, which would mean that what were the search enhancements that we actually made. So with respect to classifying search, we were able to introduce faceted search. So you could filter down or narrow down on a specific metadata object, properties of an object. There was an administrative panel where you could define your facets and the content would then fit into those facets. On the UI, from the knowledge worker perspective, from the end user perspective, you could narrow down using the facet. Similarly, you could discover information, so we added the ability to search for people and profiles and the ability to search within the discussion forums. So some of this helped the search mechanism altogether. In addition to that, we introduced some display or UX improvements around search, which involved sorting of the search results or scoping the search results to specific categories. On top of it, we introduced a metadata or a custom attribute search as well, which was displayed in the search results in .8. So these were the, on a very high level, these were the search enhancements that we did in 11.118. With respect to mobility, we had this, we introduced the concept of page variants. So what a page variant would mean is that if you have a different device on which you want to render a particular page, and depending on the characteristics of the device or the capabilities of the device, you want to introduce another, or depending even on the network on which this website would be accessed, you may want to construct a different portal page altogether. So a page variant would essentially mean a variant for pages for specific devices. So this would optimize the end user experience for viewing pages on a mobile device. So that's when we introduced this concept of something called as page variant. On top of that, you could also preview on the various devices as to how the portal page would look like on a mobile device. So we added a set of devices and their user agents and then try to show you as to how your portal page would look on a particular mobile device. Obviously, all of this required a lot of backend infrastructure support in terms of ability to add device groups or ability to add devices. One could also modify the pre-configured device settings. So, and you could add new device, one could add new device groups. So if there was a new phone coming into the market or the customer wants to introduce another device group for his company or organization, one could do so by going to the portal administration UI and adding a device group. So this is where the mobility part of .8 shaped itself. In terms of knowledge worker tooling, we simplified the portal creation. Now when I say simplified portal creation, not only the fact that you could now specify even page creation at the time of portal creation, as to you can create pages together. And the other thing that we introduced was we also focused on the performance of a portal creation. So we introduced significant changes there. We introduced the concept of tools and services. What that would mean is that when you create a portal, not all the services need to be enabled. So we gave a concept of selecting which services would you like your portal to have by default when it gets created, and then you could create the portal. This would mean that a faster portal creation time. We had a gap in terms of creating a page hierarchy in .8, which we introduced in .8 by 11.1.8 with creation of page hierarchy and navigation. There were significant user improvements or user interface stabilization that took place as well. In terms of performance, we obviously acknowledge the fact that 11.1.8 has to perform better, and we in that process what we did was we defined a performance app. Size by example approach is what we took, and we defined the app which had certain section of departments, which had certain sections of pages, and they had their own hierarchy, and then each one has its own access control and authorization, and then we define how many number of users would actually access that particular page or a portal, and what would be the typical actions that they would do. And after having done all of that, we ran the performance tests on that and then obtained the performance numbers and have published them on OTN, which would help you size the portal deployment. So this was one of the first things that we did for 11.1.8, and subsequently, as you would have seen, we have done it for .9 and 12.1 as well. So we continue to improve these performance results. We continue to integrate them into our nightly builds and see where the performance is regressing so that we can address it in time before the release. So the other significant updates in 11.1.8 release was the stage and production support, or even connection migration support. We also provided a rich user profile which would integrate with multiple systems. We made significant improvements in the enterprise manager portal metrics. So you could now see the document metrics, you could see the page response metrics, you could see the page performance metrics, and so on. So there were a significant number of metrics, matrices that were introduced there. We also leveraged some of the ADF improvements in terms of the Skyros skin or HTML5 support, and some announcements around wikis and blogs as well. There was a feature called impersonation introduced so that one could delegate delegate certain responsibilities to certain users for a specific period of time, so that one can if one is not able to attend to it, the other person would be able to attend. So that's the impersonation feature that we introduced in there. It's dependent on OEM to an extent. So having given you a brief overview of 11.1.8, let us move and see what are the 11.1.9 features that we introduced. So as you can see, in 11.1.9 we have kind of provided framework folder support. As you would know that framework folder support is more performant than folders G, and that's when we wanted to switch from folders G to framework folders. So a complete support for framework folders arrived in 11.1.9. From what I mean is that existing customers who are on folders G can migrate to framework folders by upgrading to 11.1.9. We also introduced, at the same time, we also introduced portal on cloud, which would mean that you could deploy WebCenter portal on GCS for development and staging purposes. In addition to that, certain significant enhancements we made in the content presenter area, where now, because we were focusing on multi-channel experiences, it was also important for the rendering of the images to be done in such a way that those are rendered in accordance with the device on which they are presented. So what we did was we introduced EL expressions which would fetch a particular image for a particular device or a particular rendition for a particular device and then show it on the device. So this was the rendition support that we actually introduced in the content presenter template. There were certain platform certifications we did as well. So let's deep dive a little bit on this. So in terms of Oracle Public Cloud, we have the JCS 6 support with WebCenter portal cluster and WebCenter content with 400 concurrent users supported, and performance numbers were comparable to that of .8. There is tutorials available for provisioning of how to do this, and it was published back in 2014. Then I talked about WebCenter framework folder support. So it is not just the performance benefit that one gets by using framework folders, but if you use the document or the content app, the content mobile app, then the content mobile app is based on framework folders. So what that means is that if there are certain activities that are done in the content mobile app on the folders which belong to a portal, they would be reflected in the portal's document library as well. Also, uh, also the desktop integration suite, or the ability to edit using Microsoft Word or Office also kind of opens up here. Having said that, so it basically has functional parity with the folders use cases, and the .9 would add it would require a domain upgrade support from folder C. The DIS is something that we will talk about later when 12.1 comes in, where we have introduced a new reusable user interface, and that's when the editing of Word and Office documents has become much easier. So in terms of platform certification, we now certified 11.119 with MS Exchange 2010 and 2013 for personal events and email. We also introduced MS Office 2013 in desktop integration. OUD support was introduced, and SAML 2.0 SSO with Oracle identity propagation was also introduced. IE11 certification is something that was significant in 11.119. Apart from that, we also introduced this performance benchmarking test, which we repeated on 11.119, and what we found that we actually improved our performance from, let's say, for 200 users, if we were getting a 0.81 second response time for 11.118, we reduced it to 0.57 seconds for .9. Similarly, for 1600 and 2400, you can see that there has been a significant performance improvement in 11.119. One new thing that we introduced is understanding the importance of install and configuration and the ability to do it swiftly. So what we introduced was a jump start kit. What that would mean is once you have downloaded all the software, you could actually run the jump start kit by specifying the location of the downloads of WebCenter portal and related software, and the JSK would just install and configure it for you. It would be a default configuration, but it would get you started much earlier. So 11.119 was one of our releases just before 12.1, and 12.1 was a release where we have made significant improvements in almost all areas of the product, and let me touch upon some of the significant ones. So on one side, we maintained our strategy of focusing on multi-channel user experiences. On the other side, there was a strong focus on ease of use. Having said that, a portal stands for application integration, so we introduced a lot of out-of-the-box tooling for getting or fetching data from different backend systems, but also presenting them in a much easier fashion within portal. We also realized the importance of having a cohesive integration with WebCenter content, so we introduced a rich user interface or a reusable task flow from WebCenter content and consumed it in WebCenter portal. We also recognized the importance of content publishing, so we took a step forward by introducing an ability to publish content quickly on a page. So let's deep dive into 12.1. What all were the things, and then there are other features around development, then there were lifecycle management improvements, then there were administrative improvements, and of course installation and configuration and certification improvements as well. So we will cover all of these. We'll try to cover all of these in this session. So around the user experience, the WebCenter portal 12.1 onwards, everything has a responsive UI design throughout. We even took some task flows which we made responsive out of the box. We designed the revamped UI for WebCenter portal with tablet first in mind. There is a wide choice of page layouts now available to us while creating a page, and there are bootstrap themes that are consumed within portal. We also simplified security management, which would mean that if you want to assign more than one role to a particular user, you can do so now. We introduced delegated administration as well. So what is this new next generation portal composer? So in order to improve the user experience for the portal, the composer is a very significant tool in creating pages. So obviously 12 to 1 gives a Wysiwyg page editor, but you have fly in fly out panels. You can drag and drop components and reorder them and so on. But one of the significant functionality is now you could save a page as a draft. So only when the draft is approved will the page changes be seen live or go live. So this draft functionality is something that we introduced. Instead of letting the user decide on what the layout could be, we published out of the box around 20 out of the box page layouts. The user does have the flexibility to define their own layout, so they can create a layout using JDeveloper, import it in portal, and then it will be available as an out of the box layout. So that is something that we introduced in order to make sure that the portal composition experience does not break due to inadequate layout defining mechanisms. Also, we introduced component wiring, so which would mean that you could now define a payload which is generating from one component and getting consumed in another component, and then based on that you could kind of decide what the other component behavior would be or the reaction of the other component could be. A realistic preview on mobile devices was something that we kind of carried over from our previous releases, but in a more improved fashion. This was the content manager task flow that I was talking about. So this content manager UI or the content manager component is something that WebCenter content provides us, and we consume it directly within portal. So now what happens is that whatever operations you could do in WebCenter content, in the WebCenter content UI, you can now do the same in WebCenter portal as well. So there is no discrepancy of operations or mismatch of operations between WebCenter portal and WebCenter content in terms of how you would do it or what you could do. So that is something that was a significant improvement in terms of content integration. In addition to that, now because we are using the same component and the same underlying infrastructure in terms of framework folders or in terms of storage and security, what would happen is that you can now leverage the mobile apps, you could now leverage the desktop integration, you could leverage WebDAV to be able to edit and manage content. In addition to that, as a value add, we added pinning support on this portal. So what that means is that you could now pin the particular folder, and so whenever a user logs in, you could see a specific folder in there. This component also participates in the eventing. So let's say if you want to see the list of documents associated with a support request, and the support requests are shown in one component, then you could click on a support request, it would pass on the payload as the support request ID, and the content manager task flow is configured to display the documents with respect to that ID. So those kind of use cases start getting enabled the moment we introduce this common component wiring. The access to workflows, metadata, and DAM are something that you get by virtue of this being a WebCenter content component being consumed as a wrapper component within WebCenter portal. Content publishing, as I said, we made some improvements around content publishing. So on our endeavor to make content publishing simple, we introduced the simple content contribution, which means that if you want to drop simple text or a simple image or a simple style text on a page, which means you want to maintain the branding of the page, you could drop one of these three components, and within that you could also contribute using multiple languages, and based on your preferences, that version of the language would be shown. So this is the first step towards simplifying the content contribution. And once, let's say, many times the organizations have needs around releasing specific type of content, and the people who are contributing are not the ones who are defining how should the page look like. Their whole focus is on contributing the content. So for such end users, what can be done is you can define a page which has certain simple content components and then create a page style out of it and give that page style for further page creation to end users so that they can create a page based on that particular page style and start creating pages or start contributing content without worrying about which component should be placed where and how, or what should be the style of the page. Rapid application integration is one of the major themes that we had for 12.2.1, and which would probably mean is you could have wizard driven tools for business user to integrate external data. What that means is you can end-to-end you can define a tooling experience wherein you would specify a REST data source or an SQL data source, and you could fetch the data from you could fetch the data, and once you have obtained that data, you could render that data in the in portal, but you could also choose as to whether I want to hide certain data before it is being presented, and you can format the data. So let's say if there is a currency amount coming in, you could decide which country you want to assign that currency or denomination and what could be the decimal formatting and so on, and then you can present it using out-of-the-box visualization templates. So when I say visualization templates, some of them we ship out of the box and some of them one could develop. These are typical JSF fragments which have data binding to the backend data visualizations or data objects. So and you can wire the two. So as you can see on the screen, I have a SKU and a product name here on the left hand side. So I could probably wire this one with the SR count, so I can see which product has which how many SRs. So as I said that you can get a list of data sources that are available for oneself, and then visualizations can be used to display those particular data. Other new updates around WebCenter Portal 12.2.1, we uptook the latest ADF 12c stack. All the responsive UI that you see, you can actually get a bootstrap theme and import it into a WebCenter portal and make your UI responsive or the way you want it. And there is native HTML5 tag support. This is something that we have introduced for our profile page, where you can click a photo. So if you are browsing a profile on iPad or any mobile device for that matter, you can click on the photo and it would actually give you an option for a native UI to be able to choose a photo or an image from an image gallery. So just to showcase that native HTML5 integration is also possible. And then there is of course the lifecycle management improvements that we have done. So we have introduced a new UI in WebCenter Portal 12.2.1 where you can directly deploy a portal from staging to production, of course after having specified the production server URL, and one can even specify the delta, and when you propagate the portal you can just propagate the delta of the content as well. So those are some of the significant lifecycle improvements that we have made. So this was about 12.2.1 in brief, and moving on to PS1 or as we call it 12.2.110. 12.2.110 is a release in itself, and the important features that we have now, we also understood the importance of moving or of customers in an ecosystem where cloud is prevalent. So recognizing that need, we now we are planning applications of 12.2.1 on Oracle Java Cloud and Oracle Infrastructure Cloud. One could migrate framework apps to portal server. This was one significant decision that we had taken in 12.2.1, which would mean that all the portal framework applications or the applications that were created using the WebCenter portal framework could be moved to be moved to portal server. By what I mean is we also introduced this utility in PS1 or 12.2.11 where this utility actually helps you migrate that application from a framework app to portal builder. As we reduced installation complexity by introducing an auto deploy script, and we introduced a host of hybrid solutions. Let me quickly talk about them. So we introduced the Oracle Documents connector, and we introduced the hybrid ECM within WebCenter portal. What does that mean? So now if you are a document cloud service user and there are external agencies who are working on certain documents, and now those agencies want to share data with WebCenter portal, they don't have to have a WebCenter portal account. So what that would mean is those agencies can have a docs account or the document cloud service account, and they can upload a document there, and they can send the link to the end user and share that document with a particular user. The portal user who has an account in Docs can see that document from the WebCenter portal. He doesn't have to leave WebCenter portal and go to a document cloud service UI and log in and then see the documents. He can right away see within WebCenter portal the documents that are shared with him by external agencies. Similarly, there can be use cases where internal people, after, let's say, if there is a policy document which wants to be shared with external agencies, but internal content repository need not be exposed. In that case, this document could be approved internal with respect to the internal processes and be put in a hybrid cloud storage. And this hybrid cloud storage, one can create a public link and share it with external users. That's the hybrid ECM that I just talked about. So these were some of the hybrid cloud solutions that we have tried to deliver in 12.2.11. Apart from that, we introduced a scripted deployment concept with clustered topology and grid link support. It has a very simple configuration. All you have to do is specify how many managed servers you want and which ports they should be running at, and it would kind of do a clustered configuration for you. Having said that, WebCenter Portal 12c also we are planning to certify on Oracle JCS and IaaS. Running WebCenter Portal on JCS obviously gives you ease of provisioning, maintenance and management with an operational efficiency which is much easier to operate. So recently, after 12.2.11 got released, we also released 11.119.16.07 patch, and in sometime in July, and what this contains is this migration utility that I just talked about. So what this does is it automatically migrates your framework app, and it actually migrates the pages, the page templates and the task flows automatically. You just run the script and you're done. So in terms of the well-documented steps for their migrating custom assets, so how the custom task flows will be migrated, how the custom beans will be migrated, these are well-documented steps available in the documentation today. Advanced customizations also find a place wherein either you get a guidance on which feature is now equivalent of the existing feature that you were already using, and what could be the minimal modifications that could be done to be able to surface the framework application in the portal builder or the portal server world. Now what I am going to show you now is something which is a work in progress. So this is all futuristic stuff, and that's why the safe harbor statement. There is a 12.2.12 release that we have been working on. This 12.2.12 release is primarily a product stabilization release. Having released so many releases recently, we want to do some quality and performance improvements around it. We have introduced some caching support for faster rendering of content, and we have given a special focus on accessibility in terms of improving accessibility specifically on mobility. So we have a host of accessibility bugs fixed in 12.2.12. In terms of 12.2.13, or as we call it PS3, we are trying to introduce a new search mechanism and support for JavaScript widgets. We also plan to do some pass integrations, and details would be known soon, but as of now we want to do some pass integrations which would make it easier for WebCenter portal to operate with other pass services. enhanced IT planning with JCS. Now this is something that I will talk about soon. So what is WebCenter portal on cloud story, right? So WebCenter portal cloud is available in three forms, right? One is you have a managed cloud wherein your applications are deployed on the Oracle cloud infrastructure. The second is the WebCenter on the compute service or the infrastructure as a cloud service, wherein you can deploy your on-prem licensed applications or portals on iOS. And then there is your WebCenter on JCS, wherein you can deploy your WebCenter portal on Java Cloud Service, and this would offload the infrastructure cost and give you the integrated WLS management benefits. So how does an IaaS deployment or an infrastructure as a service deployment, typical deployment look like? So it looks typical to the way that I'm showing it here on the figure. So you would have a database host and you would have portals and content which are working together in cluster, and it would mimic a typical enterprise deployment topology as that of an on-prem topology. Then you have, so this is something that is coming soon and it is work in progress, but again with a safe harbor statement here, but what we are trying to introduce is a portal cloud service which would be a subscription cloud service and available on JCS, and one could leverage the management tooling around JCS to be able to do the backup restore for WLS and OTD and related software. For portal, the management and installation in the initial phases will have to be done by the customer, but eventually this thing will also be available as part of automatic provisioning in JCS, but that is the next step. So the benefits that would typically give is that it will give you a gateway into the SaaS and the PaaS world where you can integrate with other cloud applications. Rapid provisioning of environments would happen, and one could also focus on the development as against installation. So you could subscribe to this service and start development and then move it to on-prem or move it to WebCenter portal on cloud, depending on your use case. So these are some of the things that I wanted to cover today. Apart from that, some of the resources that we have today available is the 12 to 1 virtual machine, and you have the Jumpstart kit. I will soon be releasing PS1 or the 12 to 1 Jumpstart kit as well. It's available on OTN. And there are various white papers also available in terms of creating a WebCenter portal page template based on a Bootstrap theme. So you could take a Bootstrap theme, put it in WebCenter portal. So this white paper talks about that. Then there is the performance benchmarking white paper for 12 to 1. There is a SAML federated SSO white paper with WebCenter portal, and then there is the customization of out-of-the-box customization of the WebCenter portal 12c task flows. So that white paper is also out there on OTN. I'm sure many of you would have already seen it. So that's all I have on the roadmap or the previous releases for WebCenter portal. So if you have any questions or suggestions, please feel free to ask a question, and probably there are some questions as I can see already here. So what happened to native WebCenter portal application? So if you can clarify, if you mean by native WebCenter portal application, the WebCenter portal framework application. So in 12 to 1, in 11G releases rather, there were two ways to achieve a portal. One was the native portal WebCenter portal framework application, wherein you could create a WebCenter portal framework application in JDeveloper. And you could create a portal out of it. Obviously you did not. This portal builder would give you is all of that construct around the framework app. So what we did in 12 to 1 is we kind of encouraged customers to go to portal server, because most of the feature parity is now there with respect to the framework app. So the only reason you would go to JDeveloper would be to develop assets like pages or page skins or page templates and layouts and so on. But the major development platform would be portal server. There are many reasons why we did that, but one of the significant reasons was to enable the knowledge worker and empower the business user to introduce tooling into the whole portal construction concept or an experience. So having said that, in 12.2.1 onwards, there is no framework application. So moving on to say next question, can we directly upgrade from 11.1.1.8.7 to 12.2.x? So I would highly encourage all of you on the call to upgrade to 12c, and also contact me in case you have any questions or clarifications. Having said that, to answer this question specifically, the way upgrade works is you first move from 11.1.1.8 to .9, which is like the PS7 or 11.1.1.9, and from there you will be automatically upgraded to 12.2.1. But it should be it would be transparent for you as an end user as to what is happening behind the scenes, but this is the typical process that would take place. And if you are using folders G, then there is a behind the scenes folders G to framework folders migration that will also have to be carried out explicitly. Has there been enhancements done to improve data source connectivity, timeout or performance to Oracle EBS R12? I do not know the answer to this question offhand, but I can get back to you. The data source connectivity is typically dependent on the network and the bandwidth which one is operating, so I doubt if there are any improvements on that side, and I don't think there are any improvements around the caching part, even if EBS used to cache, portal used to cache the EBS data once it gets in. So I doubt if there are any improvements in that area. However, as I said that now EBS can be exposed as a SQL data source, so you could actually write a SQL data source and a SQL query in WebCenter portal and would fetch that data, and you can visualize that data in WebCenter portal. Have the issues with compatibility view settings in 12.2x when using IE? So I think the compatibility view settings when using IE are only with respect to IE 11, and I think that is still recommended to turn the compatibility settings off. That recommendation still exists. So what about search? Heard rumors about potentially using Elastic. I think I just talked about it, that we are in the process of replacement of to Elasticsearch is something that is in our roadmap, and we are actively working on it, and I would be able to confirm the actual deliverables in some time, but that is definitely something that is on the radar. For Q1 follow-up, I meant the iPhone app, has that been deprecated? So the way now we look at the iPhone app is a little different. So now WebCenter portal has a lot of REST APIs built around it. So we typically do not want that iPhone app to kind of restrict the ability of the user to do more. So if you want, you can develop an iPhone app, use the WebCenter portal REST APIs and build your own iPhone app, and that would be fine as well. The iPhone app that is being referred to here was built on top of the 11 earlier releases of 11G, and this 12.2.1 infrastructural support is altogether different because we have actually changed the underlying infrastructural layer. We have introduced database as the foundation layer for storing even a lot of things which were earlier stored in MDS. So that is why we are able to have a lot of performance improvements. Does JCA Oracle WebCenter available as a trial version? So I think it means does JCS Oracle WebCenter available as a trial version? I'm not sure what it means, but as a subscription service is what we are planning to make it available. So if you want to try around and test, then you might as well subscribe to the service. When developing an ADF task flow, is there better support for deploying on site built with portal? When developing an ADF task flow, is there better support for deploying on site built with portal? The task flow development paradigm remains the same as in earlier releases, and there's not much change there. except that you could now leverage the new ADF libraries and new ADF constructs. Samay, my question is, what is the search roadmap of our feature? Currently, we are using .8 version and integrated with SCS. I have faced issues to manage the customer segmentation. Yeah, so I just answered this question about SCS and Elasticsearch. I think we have one more question around the same. We currently can't configure SCS because we have a, that is correct, we have a 12c fresh database installation, and from Oracle support we had the information that we should first install 11g and then upgrade. Which should already be, so my question is, if SCS is certified with 12c database without any upgrade from 11g, and if Elasticsearch would be already an option about this. So yes, that is a limitation that we are trying to address in terms of the database versions. But as far as Elasticsearch is concerned, I think we'll have to wait for how the whole Elasticsearch licensing and how the whole Elasticsearch would pan out. So we are still, under development, and we are still trying to see how the whole thing would figure out. But I'll definitely, you will find that in our roadmaps or presentations elsewhere, as whenever Elasticsearch makes it to the release. So it's too early to comment on, because as I said, Elasticsearch is not available as of today in portal, but we are working on it actively to make it available. And the chances are that you will see sooner in the subscription cloud service as well. So that looks like there is a lot of interest around search, and thanks for that, and that gives us a lot of impetus to push Elasticsearch work altogether. So can you explain the, okay, so before that, SCS is now certified with 12c database from December, that is right. Is there any improvement on integration with PeopleSoft? So integration with PeopleSoft, there is one way of integrating that we already exposed earlier. And now if you expose PeopleSoft with REST or a SQL data source, then that would be the way to integrate PeopleSoft. There has not been any other improvement as such around integration with PeopleSoft. Can you explain the past integration plans? So as I said that, past integration would mean that first in-house integrating our PaaS services with WebCenter portal, which would mean that integrate Docs, OSN and Sites Cloud Service and within WebCenter portal, that it would translate to that. How much of it gets actualized is something that remains to be seen, but that is something that we will have to figure out what is the best fit for WebCenter portal and the PaaS integration use cases. If you have specific use cases that you feel where the PaaS integration is very valuable, please feel free to reach out to me, and we can see which integration makes more sense. But having said that, I showed you that the document cloud service is one of the PaaS services that we have actually integrated within WebCenter portal. That is one way of integrating it. The other could be you could have an API call to Docs and construct your own UI and render it in WebCenter portal. So that's one of the integrations. The other could be possibly Oracle social network integration, where you have conversations within surfacing within WebCenter portal on WebCenter portal objects and so on. You could have let's say opportunities from Sales Cloud or Service Cloud showing up within WebCenter portal. So some of those are and they can involve multiple cloud services within to be able to translate into WebCenter portal. The other possible touch point I see is around the PCS integration thing, which means that you could trigger a process in Process Cloud Service using WebCenter portal. So some of these PaaS integrations are which are very relevant and which are very impactful, something to be worth consider. So if you think that one thing scores over the other or something that you are really looking forward to, get in touch with me, and I would be more than happy to consider some of these. Okay, thank you for the answer. But about the issues with SCS 12c database will be fixed. If you have any specific bug that you are identifying, please mail that across to me, and I can get back to you on that. Why were polls deprecated? Good question. So the reason that we deprecated polls was obviously because the amount of features that polls surveys was exposing was something that had needed improvement, something that could be improved a lot more. And given the fact that there are so many polls and services varied, and there's a whole range of polls and services, features, softwares available out there, one could never match the capacity to deliver those kind of polls and services, the latest and the greatest within WebCenter portal, given the other strategic roadmaps or the strategic features that we had. So that is why we thought that it is better to give customers a flexibility to consume the kind of polls and surveys that they want in WebCenter portal by constructing their own, as against we kind of doing something which others are already doing it, and are constantly improvising on it. Is it possible to migrate single portal pages instead of the entire portal 11G to 12C? I don't know why one would do that, but that would mean that you just have to then create a page in WebCenter portal 12C, and if there are components on it, if there are custom task flows, you have to follow the migration path and then migrate those custom task flows on the page. Otherwise, use the out-of-the-box task flows and apply those customizations, and you're done. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's what would have to be done. Can you explain JSR 286 possibilities, please? So JSR 286 is already supported in the product, right? So if you can clarify what do you mean by possibilities, that will help. But JSR 286 continues to be supported in the portal product. What is the strategy compared with Sites Cloud? So each of them is Sites Cloud serves, as I said, one slide that I showed earlier, right? There is diverse needs of a DX platform. So on one side you have the LOB agility, and on the other side you have enterprise reliability. So it is up to the use case as to what takes precedence over what. So that is where the whole area where Sites Cloud service would focus and enterprise reliability would focus is. Having said that, it does not mean that one doesn't consume the other. So by that what I mean is that you could consume possibly Sites Cloud service components within WebCenter portal. So in that sense you become complementary, or you kind of supplement each other in your functionalities. So how to implement ADF page into WebCenter portal? I am not sure if I get this question, but and I'm not sure why one would want to do that. So if you can clarify, I can get back. Does it support UMS adapter or Twitter as SOA 12C UMS support Twitter? I do not know the answer to this, but what I suspect is, as it will be all custom driven. So one would, if one is able to create or kick off a SOA process from WebCenter portal, or create a component which could fetch data from the UMS adapter into the custom task flow, then I don't see any reason why a portal could not trigger or cannot consume that data. What is the plan for using CMIS integration in portal? CMIS is already integrated in portal as far as I know, which means that you can have CMIS queries which are there for WebCenter portal. And so in Content Presenter, when you go, you can actually run CMIS queries. Where we can view or download the white papers that you are showing. Very simple. You just have to go to OTN WebCenter portal white papers. And once you do that, you have to go to Oracle WebCenter portal white papers, which is this link. Let me ping on this page, and then you can see all the white papers that are here. So the task flow customization, or the bootstrap theme, or the scalability, or the SAML, all of them are here. If you need any other specific white paper, let me know, and we can see how we can take that. Okay, so custom pages, Okay, task flows make sense. What about custom pages? So the migration utility kinds of take care of migrating the pages also. Now, with respect to whether you will be able to migrate a specific page, we haven't come across a use case where somebody would want to migrate only one page out of the entire framework app. Um, I will have to check into that. So please feel free to drop me an email offline. How can you tag documents like you can other assets in the portal? There is no longer available since the content UI integration. That is correct. So this content integration was one thing that we wanted to get in place first. Now that it is cohesively integrated, announcements will follow which will address some of the missing things from the content task flow. But as of now, that is not available. So I'm not aware of any future plans to stopping support for CMS integration. If there are, the roadmaps would reflect that. Why there isn't AVITEX sample portal for 12C version, which Oracle was providing for all 11G versions? Okay. There are some AVITEX sample portals that we have, and in the JSK for 12.2.1, these sample portals are available. So if you want, you can download the JSK, and in that the sample portals are there. In fact, there is also a blog which I would like to show. Let me share my screen. So as you can see here, I have blogged about the JSK, and the JSK contains these sample portals. Yeah. And it has, once you deploy it, then you would be able to see how this whole thing works. How difficult to migrate WebCenter portal 11 to 12C? Right now we are in starting development portal using 11G, not sure how stable 12C version. So okay, so it's an automated migration as we typically do, unless there are features which are not there. Let's say if you are using polls, then they are not there in 12. So unless you are using some of those cursory features, then there is a possibility that those features won't work. Otherwise, basics of content management and content presentation all remain the same. So migration and upgrade should not be very time consuming or very difficult, so to say, or will not be any loss in functionality as such. There will be some hiccups here and there, like like the tagging that was mentioned, but you get a better content management experience in 12C. So you get something, a lot of benefits as compared to what you lose. So it should be pretty doable, and many customers have already done it rather. And in terms of stability of 12C version, I'm fairly confident that 12C version is pretty stable, and we already have a patch set 3 or a patch set 2 that we are working on. So which itself reflects that it has actually gone past the initial 12.2.1 jump start. So it's already there on 12.2.1.2. So even that release should be stable enough. Unless you face any specific issues and you want to report them, my email is vihan.pathak@oracle.com. So I think we are on the top of the hour. So unless there is any other question or one last question, I would like to thank you for showing so much active interest in WebCenter portal, and thank you for attending today's call. And if you have any queries, please feel free to email them to me. And if you're interested in any of the cloud services that I talked about with respect to portal, like the portal subscription cloud service or the IaaS or JCS deployment or even the sites cloud or PaaS services, feel free to get in touch with me.
Thank you so much, Bihang. We appreciate you staying on the line to address all these questions. Before we conclude, please make note of our upcoming webinars and past webinars by visiting www.ioug.org. A recording from today's webcast will soon be available on the IOUG website in our Resource Center. Again, we'd like to thank Bihang and the WebCenter SIG and everyone online for attending the event today. There's a survey after this webinar for you to complete. We thank you in advance for your feedback. Thanks again for attending and have a great day.
Thank you very much. Have a good day. Bye.